Welcome back, and thank you, Sandra and Florian, for really an outstanding panel. And just as a reminder for all audience members, you can join any panel, any speaker in the breakout question and answer session. The prompt there is on your screen. I'm so pleased to be able to welcome here in the studio Dr. Adam Koppel, a great friend. He's the managing director of Bain Capital Life Sciences, and also a member of our Innovation Growth Board. Adam's going to lead a panel focused on the impact of M&A, the torrent really of acquisitions that are occurring in the field and how that's shaping the approach to gene and cell therapy. This is a panel we've all been looking forward to, and we're thrilled to have Adam moderating it. Dr. Adam Koppel.
Great, thanks, Chris. Honored to be here. Exciting topic, obviously. We have seen a lot of activity in cell and gene therapy, mergers and acquisitions. We have a great panel here that I'm virtually looking at, so looking forward to the conversation. We have Debbie Baron from Pfizer, Kenneth Custer from Lilly, Marianne De Backer from Bayer, and Nolan, formerly of Avexis and now at Encoded Therapeutics and Affinia and many hats. So, exciting times. So, I'd like to have each person just give a little bit more of an introduction to yourself as you answer the first question. But let's get right to it. And let's start on the strategic side, on the side of the acquirer. I think we have three people here that represent acquirers. And just want to ask the question, like, what are acquirers looking for in a major license or acquisition of a gene and cell therapy company, both from the perspective of what is the content that the acquirer is looking for, and also the type of a transaction, be that acquisition or partnership. So, Debbie, why don't we start with you, and first introduce yourself and tell us what the acquirer is looking for.
Sure. Thanks, Adam, and great to be on the panel with you and my esteemed panelists today. Just to say hello to everyone, I'm Debbie Baron. I lead business development at Pfizer, and really excited to talk about gene therapy in particular today. So a couple questions, and Adam, what you asked, what are we looking for, and how are we looking for it? So overall, we're at Pfizer overall, not just from a gene therapy perspective, we're really looking for breakthrough opportunities, scientific opportunities that really will make a huge difference for patients relative to the options patients have today. And clearly, gene therapy has the potential to offer huge transformative opportunities for patients, and really is an area that we've made significant investments in over the recent years, and have substantial both programs in, but also development and clinical experience in as well. And as a result, we really are excited to continue to look for some of these scientific breakthroughs, these opportunities for patients in the area of gene therapy that can really leverage the experience that we have, where we can bring that to bear with what other companies are working on and the kinds of programs that they're working on. So what we're really looking for are those kinds of opportunities that we can come together with, where we can add value from the experience that we've had, and where we can really see that kind of transformative opportunity come to fruition. In terms of the form of how that takes, and I think we are always quite flexible and interested in talking with, again, whichever companies we're in discussion with around what makes the most sense, not only from where a company is coming from, but also, again, really to be able to advance that program forward in the best possible way. And as I said before, in a way that leverages the science and the work and the innovation that has fostered the program, but also to leverage the experience we have, again, from a discovery, from a development perspective, from a clinical experience perspective, and from a global footprint perspective, all those different things that we bring to it, as well as the huge investment we've made in manufacturing, both expertise and capacity. So all those things are, again, things that we want to bring to it, and I think it really becomes a question of what's the right form and approach for the particular situation in terms of how we would move forward. So maybe I'll pause there. Happy to come back to that with any additional follow-up.
Great, that sounds great. And Marianne, how about Bayer's been quite active? I know you both on the sell side, especially. How does Bayer think about major licensing and acquisition and the structure of those?
Sure. Hi, Adam, and a real pleasure to be on this panel. So my name is Marianne De Backer. I'm the head of global strategy, business development, and licensing, and a member of the pharmaceuticals executive committee at Bayer. Now, what we were looking at strategically, just a couple of years ago, is we saw this incredible, revolution happening in technologies, and we saw that. With the coming to fruition of a lot of cell and gene therapy technologies, that a lot of intractable diseases were going to become really, possible for us to tackle and to really, drive significant difference for patients. So a couple of years ago, we set ourselves a goal of becoming a leader in the cell and gene therapy space. And we sort of boiled the ocean and looked at, everything we could be doing there, where really the high unmet medical need was, and what the different ways were that we could tackle it. And we came to focus on 4 pillars. And depending on sort of the pillar, we took different approaches as to, what we wanted to see from a company that we would potentially want to acquire, or a partner that we wanted to enter into an alliance with. So first of all, we said we wanted to be an absolute leader in iPSC-based cell therapy. And we had already a couple of years ago took an initial investment, and together with Versant founded Blue Rock Therapeutics. So in 2019, we decided to acquire that company fully and make it really our nucleus for everything that is, regenerative medicine based on iPSC-based cell therapy. And there we were, of course, really looking for, absolute leadership in the space, which we were able to get through that acquisition. Then the other area where we thought it was really going to be important to be in was gene augmentation. And as we were sort of looking at, all the ways to enter the field of gene augmentation, we were looking for a way to really leapfrog in the field. We thought it was going really to take too long for us to build this up gradually ourselves. So we wanted to really find, a company that had pioneers in the field, that had been in it for a long time, because it's a really complex area to be successful in. And we wanted a company that had deep expertise in manufacturing, and we wanted a company that already had clinical stage assets. So if we sort of looked at all the opportunities out there, that brought us very quickly to the company AskBio, which we were able to acquire last year. And with, Jude Samolsky, we really also brought in a true pioneer in the field, one of the founders of the AAV-based platform. Then a third pillar that we really wanted to make some progress in is allogeneic cell therapy in cancer. In that area, we decided to take a little bit of a different tack, and we started to enter into some strategic alliances, such as with Atara Biosciences end of last year, looking at an allogeneic approach, CAR-T approach for treatment of mesothelin carrying solid tumors. And we are continuing to look at other opportunities there that could be acquisitions or partnerships. And then finally, sort of the 4th big pillar of our overall cell and gene therapy strategy is all related to gene editing. So both, in vivo and in vitro. And we already have a number of strategic alliances in this space, and are now, continuing to look at other potential targets, again, companies that are truly pioneering, that obviously have strong IP, that can, tackle both in vitro and in vivo, and allow us, again, to treat or cure diseases in a different way than we would have done before. So maybe I'll stop there, and happy to come back to
That's great. That's really a true broad strategy, and exciting to see those steps being made. And then Kenneth, I know Lilly recently got into the fray with a very interesting acquisition. So why don't you tell us your thoughts and where you've been focused and how you're thinking about it at Lilly?
Sure, I'll try and go quick. Ken Custer, I'm head of corporate business development here at Lilly. As you said, we're relatively new to the gene therapy space with most notably the Prevail acquisition that we announced at the end of last year. We also have the privilege of being a strategic investor in one of Sean's new companies that he'll talk to you about, Jaguar Therapeutics. I'll say that our entry into this space started with a shared belief, that Debbie and Marianne expressed, which is that gene therapy is going to be a modality of the future. We expect to see a steady stream of INDs and approvals in this space, and it was sort of hard to envision a future where Lilly didn't have capabilities, especially given our legacy in neuroscience, which is particularly amenable to this approach. I will say the Prevail acquisition, it was the result of a pretty exhaustive evaluation of opportunities. We looked at probably pretty much every company out there, some of which will probably be mentioned today, and ultimately looked at them from a variety of different angles, really looking sort of at the maturity of the clinical portfolio, the target disease pairs that they were pursuing, their sort of capabilities from a capsid and vector engineering standpoint, manufacturing and clinical regulatory expertise. We didn't start with a mandate to acquire versus partner. In fact, I think we opened the dialogue with Prevail with an overture to license one or more of their programs. But I think that view really evolved over time. We were impressed by their team, by their leadership, and the broader group of 70 employees. And they offered a lot of expertise that we didn't have at the time, but also shared values, and we could envision them as part of Lilly. More so as we started to learn more about their pipeline, there are more and more programs that we were interested in, and we really were able to see an opportunity to acquire a broader pipeline that could be a cornerstone of a CNS gene therapy franchise at Lilly, more than just one or two licensing deals. So ultimately, we feel like we made the right decision for Lilly. We're delighted to have Prevail as part of our company. We know it'll take a lot of work to get these therapies to the market, and you may see us take other approaches than M&A to broaden our access to gene therapy. Some of which will be strategic investments like what we did with Jaguar. Others will be, probably smaller technology access deals to enhance the Prevail platform.
Great, thanks, Ken. And now, you talk about getting a product through development and into commercialization. Sean, congratulations to you and your team, your previous team at Avexis. I think one of the few that have taken a product through development, regulatory approval, and now really having a major impact on lots of families. So thanks for being here, Sean. And you're the other side of the discussion, right? You're the acquiree and also now leading a bunch of the smaller next generation, newly innovative companies. So what's it like from your perspective? You've been through it. You've transacted a company that you helped build and create great success and doing it again. What are your thoughts from the other side of the table?
Yeah, Adam, first of all, thanks for having me. It's a real privilege to be part of this particular panel. And very briefly, I'm involved in a number of gene therapy companies. I'm chairman of the board of Affinia Therapeutics, Encoded Therapeutics, Taysha Gene Therapies, and as Ken mentioned, executive chairman of Jaguar Gene Therapy. So a range of AAV-based companies and new platform technologies. So to answer your question, Adam, I really think from my perspective, it really comes down to how does the acquirer view how they're going to integrate the company, and how do they really leverage the technology and the capabilities that have been acquired. And I also think an aspect to it is the cultures, and can the cultures come together, or are they far apart where it would be quite difficult? So I think those are things that as a potential acquiree, you think about. There are certain companies that might be better fits. They might be thinking of integration in a much different way than what's done traditionally. So as an example, if the head of the, call it the larger organization, really feels that building a capability in gene therapy or cell therapy is something that they can best do or jumpstart from an external acquisition perspective or a partnership, then how do you really keep the magic, if you will? How do you keep the smaller entity functioning and driving forward? Because there's always this natural desire and tension, and understandably so, in the big organizations to integrate. I've been in situations where, and again, this is, I'm not, don't look at my last example is what I'm talking about. I've been through multiple M&As, but I've seen circumstances time and time again where the CEO has a clearly stated vision about how they want to do something, and you go to the first, call it integration meeting or team meeting is a better way to put it, and somebody from a therapeutic head puts one of your products in their pipeline slot. And you start to see that there's a bit of a difference in how different people throughout the organization are thinking about it. So I really believe that the more clarity there is and consistency of view across the acquirer and how they want to do this and leverage it and work with the management team from the that's being acquired, I think it vastly increases the speed of which progress happens and really does expedite the combination of the strengths that can be garnered from the combination of the two.
Great, very, very helpful, and great to get the perspective across the panel. Let's move on to a little bit more of a rapid fire Q&A. Maybe we'll have a little bit of controversy here. Obviously, cell and gene therapy is unique in many ways across the value chain, frankly. I mean, from clinical development, the way regulators look at it, the manufacturing component, CMC, and obviously also the commercial launch and commercialization more broadly. I'm wondering if each of you can kind of choose one of those, and when you were at your respective companies and making decisions on either side of the table, what was, do you think, the most heated part of the discussion, either prior to the transaction when you were considering it, or following the transaction when you were integrating or coming together with the transaction? So why don't we start, Ken? Why don't we start with you, since you've just recently done one. What was the most controversial or heated discussion internally?
I don't know that it was controversial, but it was unique for us in the sense that you don't typically think of Lilly as a rare disease company. But obviously the logical starting place for most of these technologies is in smaller diseases, often sort of monogenic loss of function disorders are particularly well suited in the CNS space, which is where our interests predominantly were. Of course, we'll be absolutely excited if we're able to generate transformative therapies that help those patients. But we also want to think about how to take these technologies to broader populations, particularly in the CNS, broader forms of Parkinson's, Alzheimer's disease, et cetera, where a lot of our overarching neuroscience interests are. And I think a lot of the conversation was an admission that it is going to be a very iterative approach, and we probably need to use a different yardstick to measure, timelines in this space. And so it was, I think, just admitting that we need to have a bit of humility entering this space. Knowing that the crest of this technology may be like many other modalities where it's 10 or 15 or 20 years before you've truly unlocked the broad Humira-like impact of this technology. So.
Great, Marianne. How about at Bayer? What were some of the key discussion points due to the differences of cell and gene therapy versus more traditional pharmaceutical development?
Yeah, of course, many. I think one of the most important actually was also what Sean already mentioned. We really wanted to make sure that we weren't going to, spend a lot of money acquiring a company and then bringing it in and not creating an environment where that company was really going to be continued to be successful, right? And bringing, these assets forward in the way that, they thought it would be best. So we had a lot of discussions with, for example, in the case of our acquisition of AskBio with the CEO, Sheila Mikhael, and also one of the other founder, Jude Samolsky, about what was the operating model really going to be post-acquisition, and how were we going to preserve their freedom, right, to operate and to keep their entrepreneurial culture and to make sure that it was understood that this was, this gene therapy was different from what we were doing. And so, we came to the conclusion that we were going to keep this company pretty much operating close to what they had been before acquisition. So basically, we keep them at arm's length independence within Bayer. They have a board. Obviously, they have a new board now, and the board is, of course, partially consisting out of Bayer employees. But otherwise, we really give them a budget. We give them, milestones that they need to achieve to progress their clinical assets, their technology, their manufacturing capability, and so on. But we leave them at arm's length, and we leave them to operate with independence. And, we had sort of taken our first steps in doing that with BlueRock, but sort of repeating that model now for a second time and making that work. That was actually a big sort of, mental mindset shift that we needed to make in the company. And, we were really committed to making that happen. And, we do not, don't take me wrong, we don't want to, leave the companies, BlueRock and AskBio, just on their own, right? We want to, of course, create synergies, and we want to make sure that if they need therapeutic area expertise or disease expertise or commercial expertise or whatever it might be from there, that we can really offer that. But we do want to make sure that they can continue to operate with great independence and drive their science forward in a fast and agile way, as they would have done if they were still independent.
Great. Debbie, at Pfizer, how do you think Pfizer thinks about this space differently maybe than the more traditional pharmaceutical? And what do you think are some of the good challenges that you guys have been talking about internally?
So firstly, I think there's, this is an area that as an industry and certainly as a company at Pfizer, we are all learning a tremendous amount about every day. There's with every patient dosed, I think there's more learnings, and again, we see that in our own experience, and we see that, as I said, as an industry, as a shared experience. So I think there are, new learnings and new things to think about on a constant basis. So there's many answers to your question, but I'll comment a bit on something that's a little bit different, not just not necessarily purely unique to gene therapy, but certainly very, very specific in some of the opportunities that we look at, which is the question of scalability, the ability to manufacture product, not just for, certainly importantly initially for your clinical program, but eventually to be able to scale up in a way that is in keeping with the regulatory conversations and the timelines in which we're trying to accelerate getting product to patient. And so, as we work through the clinical program and the really important aspects around what kind of impact the particular program can have, the particular therapy, what the safety issues may be, all of that it is in concert and needs to be in parallel with assuming success. How are we going to actually get product to patient at that point in time? And it's as we've seen in other examples as well. Certainly as we've seen very much through our work in the development of the COVID vaccine. Also, the fastest timeline is one that works is when you're working all this in parallel, and that's where a lot of the investments and experience I think really do help. But it is something that is really important when we're looking at opportunities to bring together with our experience that we're trying to evaluate how to bring that experience to bear, and how do we determine how we're going to be able to again bring that forward in a way that fits with the clinical program and as I said, get product to patients.
Sean, I'm gonna shift the question a little bit for you as we're in the last couple minutes here. As an innovator and someone who's involved with a number of innovation companies in the space, we hear a lot about what's here now, what's tangible in the space now, what are the clinical programs that companies are doing now, and there's always the what's yet to come, what's the next iteration, what's the next generation, and as people are driving forward. I wonder if you can give us your perspective on what do you believe in the here and now is real, like will have an impact on patient lives, versus what are you most excited about in the still yet to come that will replace kind of the here and now. I wonder if you could give us your thoughts, essentially where is this industry going?
Sure. Well, I think the next steps are based on the fact that the concept of gene therapy has been proven, right? I mean, we know that we can scale the manufacturing, and we know that we have efficacy and safety in now a couple of different indications with approved products. I think the next step, utilizing existing vectors, is going to be larger bolder indications. And, examples of that, you're going to start to see work in autism. You're going to see work in epilepsies. You're going to see work in diabetes. You're going to see work in areas that people wouldn't have thought before. But because of the science being proven, you've got a much higher probability of success. So I think the companies in the AAV space that are going to step forward are the ones that have the ability to execute on this, and they've identified, call it, the appropriate next set of indications based on biology, unmet need, and opportunity. I think right in parallel with that, there are companies that are using the current vector technology, but regulatory elements or transcription factors like an encoded to target genes that you can't necessarily get at because the gene's too big to package in AAV alone. So the ability to modulate that is something that you're going to be able to see, I think, in a very short period of time. And then the next step on that are the next generation of vectors. So how do we improve the tropisms? How do we improve the targeting and the safety profile? And again, I think that's gonna happen. But I also believe that those first two things are really what is here and now.
Great.
And it's going to take more time and effort to see the next gen products through. They're definitely needed, and they're definitely going to happen, though.
Thanks, Sean, and thanks to all of you. Extremely interesting discussion. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but I very much appreciate it, and thank you all for your thoughts and participation.